What's good, you guys? It's your boy Raheem the Dream, and thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Hood Dreams TV. On today's episode, we are recapping episode 2 of season 16's The Real Housewives of Atlanta. If you are new to my channel, Jumbo, I'm so happy to have you. Please make sure that you do me a favor by hitting the like button. Also share this video to your social medias with all of your friends and family, and also subscribe. All right, so let's go ahead and just jump right into it. We pick up where last week's episode left off, where they are at Shamia's birthday party at Shamia's home, and Shamia is questioning Drew about if she is dating Dennis. And Drew, let me see. Drew says that she's not dating Dennis and that she did in fact get permission from Portia. But Portia turns around and says that she didn't get permission. But I feel like in her confessional, Portia did say that she gave Drew permission. You know, she thought it was a good idea. She gave Drew the go ahead. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch because I could have swore Portia did say that Drew talked to her about it. But anyway, Portia says that instead of being asked about it, Drew pretty much told her about it. Like, it's a difference between telling this is what's going to happen and asking me, hey, is this okay for this to happen? And Portia is saying, instead of asking Portia, Drew pretty much was letting her know, like, look, this is what's going on. Let me see. Drew, she explains how the whole thing even started. She mentions that she was opening up for Tamar Braxton. And again, let's go back to the hand claps for Drew, because in last week's episode, she talked about how she was opening up for the singer Tank. And now in this episode, she's talking about how she was opening up for Tamar Braxton. And look, keep it up, Drew. Just keep it up. But she's talking about how she opened up for Tamar Braxton, and I'm guessing Dennis was at that show. And I'm guessing maybe he saw the performance and he approached her with a music proposal and working with her. She says that she's been with some of the top legendary music producers, singers, whatever, and her music career never went anywhere. So when Dennis came to her with this music proposal, I guess she felt how genuine he was and wanted to make, her career pop. So she decided to go with it. And hey, I can't hate on that because, being signed to the most notable record label does not always mean that your music is going to go anywhere. You can be signed to a label and they do absolutely nothing with you. They don't promote you. They put no money into you. And sometimes you have to go, with the little man, to help get your stuff out there. So, I hope it was worth it, for her to go to Dennis. And if Dennis has anything to do with the music from Drew that I've been hearing, then I think she made the right move, because every song that Drew has put out since joining the Real Housewives of Atlanta has been a banger. Every single one of them. So I don't know if Dennis had anything to do with that. Let me see. But Drew does say that she reiterates that she has talked to Portia about it several times. And she says she even told Portia that Dennis has been her angel on earth, with everything that she has going on with her divorce with Ralph. And I think she shouldn't have said that. Like, that's crazy. You can't be telling this man's baby mama, look, your baby daddy has been my angel on earth. Like, no matter how nice you try to put it, it's going to come off weird. It just is like, oh, your baby daddy, he's just been an angel. I love him so much. He kept my mind off my divorce. And that's what a lot of people do. They get under one person to try to get over another person. And I think that's a little bit of what's going on here. She's getting under Dennis so that she can get over Ralph. But anyway, Portia, she wasn't trying to hear it. Portia in this scene, she was she was not here for Drew at all. And even at the end of that scene, she told Drew to stop talking to her. She was like, "Stop talking to me. Stop talking to me." Oh, before we jump to the next scene, Portia, she does explain that she felt like she doesn't have an issue with Drew working with Dennis, or even if they were screwing around. She says that's not her main issue, which I don't really believe that. But she does say that her main issue was that she thought that it could potentially impact Portia and Dennis's co-parenting relationship, which at the end of the day, I think she just said that because she's in her feelings. And I don't see how that could impact her co-parenting relationship. What does Drew have to do with Pilar, PJ? Nothing. Like, and even if she did start dating Dennis, how does that affect PJ? That, if anything, that helps PJ because now she has another accomplished woman in her life with money and connections, who also has, small children for PJ to play with. So I'm not I don't see how, if Drew was dating or banging Dennis, how is that a problem? It's a problem for you, Portia, because, and I get it, because you don't want your friend being with your baby daddy, but that's not going to be a problem for PJ at all. PJ's still so young and so small. It won't affect her. But anyway, Portia also says that her issue with Dennis filming with Drew is that this is her platform, and she doesn't want Dennis to be able to come onto her platform that she brought him onto, for him to be able to come on and, talk crazy or say anything crazy about Portia or talk about Portia, which hopefully he never would do that. But, I guess for her it's just like a precautionary type thing. Let me see. I mean, I get it. I get that. I do want to bring up a little honorable laugh, a little chuckle that I had, because while they were talking and getting into it, the producers, they cut over to Brittany, Kenya, and Kelly. They were off talking in the corner. And Brittany, she mentioned how hot dogs aren't the only thing that Dennis is selling. And I had a little chuckle. And then also they jumped to a confessional of Cynthia. And Cynthia had me chuckling too, because she was talking about how Drew tells fibs or lies. And she was like, well, Drew has been caught in a fib or two or three or four. And it just seemed like she was going to keep going on and on, because I told y'all, Drew be lying. That's what she's known for on this show. She's known to be a liar on the Atlanta franchise, just like Mia from Potomac. Mia be lying. Mia is the liar of her season, just like I mentioned on last week's recap about Love and Hip Hop. Yandy, we don't believe nothing none of y'all say. And even Portia, I brought Portia up too. Portia, liar. I mean, you can't go right with either one of them, Drew or Portia. And notice how I said you can't go right. Normally it's you can't go wrong, but you literally can't go right with Drew or Portia. Like, it's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Let's see. So next we jump to a scene where all of Shamia's guests, they go downstairs to the pool, to the backyard, to the pool area. And remember, all these people are dressed up really, really nicely, and they're blinged out, white outfits and stuff. You can tell people done spent, at least $100 plus on their outfits. And they go out to the pool and they jump in it. And what I will say is that looked really fun. And it had like foam and stuff just flying all over the place. And it was just real cool to see these people in their nice white jumping and getting all wet in this pool. That party looked really fun. And I would love to be friends with Shamia and get invited to a party like that. I'll sign an NDA and everything, Shamia. You ain't even got to worry about it. Just let me get the invite next time. I got you. Next, we jump to a scene where Angela, she's at home with her daughter and husband. And just in this scene alone, it reminded me of something that made me like put a question mark beside Angela on the first episode. But this is also another question mark because they're in their home, and I'm just really learning the dynamics between Angela and her husband. When they open up the scene of them being in a home, you see her husband, legendary NBA player Larry, what's it called? Larry Oakley? Something like that. I forgot. He comes in, he's just complaining about the house not being cleaned. And she says to him, I've already cleaned the house. So I don't know what's considered dirty to him, but the house looked fine to me. I didn't see any dirtiness, but maybe he's like me and got OCD, because one thing out of place and I'm giving attitude, we got to clean the house. So I don't know, maybe he got a little OCD like me. But honestly, from what I can see, the house looked clean. So yeah, he's complaining about the house not being clean, and Angela mentions that the house was already cleaned. And then she jumps to a confessional about how she and her husband met. She says that they met, she had given him her phone number, and then he didn't call her. And then 10 years later, they met again when they were neighbors in the same condo. And that's how their relationship started, and been together ever since. Angela also says that she owns a financial consulting business, and I love that because she's a self-made millionaire, and this is her money that she made without her husband. So, kudos to her for that. She also talked about how she was renovating 5 properties. I'm guessing renovating them to sell. Something tells me that that she flips houses. And that's very good money in that. And then she starts talking to her daughter, which is the oldest daughter out of all of their children. And this daughter is 24 years old, so she can have these type of conversations with that daughter. But she was just telling the daughter about everything that happened at Shamia's birthday party. And she was talking about the situation with Drew, supposedly doing business with Portia's baby daddy, Dennis. And here's another question mark that I have to put here, because her husband, he then turns around and tells her to stop gossiping. And I pretty much like, mind your business. Don't be talking and gossiping about these people. And so Angela was like, but, Drew is, working with Portia's baby daddy, and Portia and her baby daddy are exes. And he's like, so? He was like, didn't you work with your ex at once upon a time? And I was like, whoa, okay. So I don't think I'm gonna like this man, because why are you embarrassing your wife and putting her business out on the streets when, something tells me in his life and with his woman, he's a very much do what I say and do it now type of guy. I'm not going to tell you twice type of man, And there's some women who want to be dominated like that. But I think the longer she's on this show, I don't know how long she and her husband are going to stay together, because this show does not allow husbands like that. The girls will tell Angela to leave his ass, like they did Portia when she first came on with Cordell. He's giving very much so Cordell energy, like, I run this shit and you gonna do what I tell you to do when I say to do it. And hopefully that's not the case, but I'm just, every time he opens his mouth, I'm just like, red flag, Do something. He opened it up again. Red flag. He opened his mouth up again. Oh, another red flag. I'm praying for you, Angela. Next, Portia and Kenya, they meet up to have some food and drinks, and I must say that both of them ate their outfits and hair and makeup up. They both looked gorgeous. They both look good, serving body, face, and looking rich. And they greet each other with smiles and hugs, and I just love that they are in this place to where now they're friends and they can talk and laugh and hug because they used to hate each other. Let's see. Oh, so Kenya brings up that she had previously sat down with Drew and how Drew was telling Kenya that she was working with Portia's baby daddy, Dennis. And Kenya pretty much had the same reaction that I had with her wondering, what does Dennis and music have to do with each other? Huh? Huh? Nothing. But at that time, we learned from Portia that Dennis actually did produce a kids album for PJ, their daughter. And so when she said that, I learned something new because, hey, I didn't know that. But now that I do know that, that makes sense for him to now want to, I guess, expand and go into R&B and hip hop and, do something other than kids music. So learning that, I'm actually not mad at it. And if Dennis has anything to do, like I said earlier, if Dennis has anything to do with the music that Drew has been putting out lately, then he should keep doing this music stuff because Drew has been sounding really good. I must say it. I can't even be a hater. Drew be lying, but she can sing. And that music that she's been putting out is really good. So next, they start talking about Simon. And Portia says that Simon wasn't really truthful in their marriage about everything. And she recalls a time where they were on a jet and they got surrounded, I guess, by police. And when she asked him what was going on, he then told her about, some charges and stuff that he had or has from when he was, I guess, pulled over or sitting in a car that turned out to be stolen. She didn't elaborate whether or not he was innocent in that case or anything. So maybe he was guilty. Maybe he stole the car. We don't know. She didn't elaborate. But then she also talked about how he had like some credit card fraud charges. And when she said that, I'm like, Portia, like, what the, Simon not even cute. So why, it had to have been all about the money. You done stole this girl's man who ain't cute and he got fraud charges. And Portia, so disappointed in your decisions, baby. Love you though. We love you and we just gonna give me a hand. No more. Let me see. Oh, Portia then says that as a person that's in the United States on a visa or a green card, and having charges, you are watched very closely, I guess, by our authorities here. And if you get into any trouble at all, they are on you like white on rice, and they do not play with you. And Kenya, she even confirmed that to be true. So I was like, I didn't know that, but it does make sense. And she also says that while separated, they have a security system in their home. Simon and Portia, they have a security system. So she's able to get alerts on her phone and see in real life what's going on at the house on her phone. And she said she got an alert one night and she saw women. Simon had women in her home. So yeah, it's definitely no turning back, Portia. Like, he's done. Finito. Over. Back to Africa you go. Next, we jump to a scene with Kelly, and she's at a restaurant that she purchased that's being remodeled. And so we're getting to see what it looks like before the renovation process. And she's meeting up with her team, and they're talking about a grand opening that she's wanting to have. And the guy that's on the team, he mentions that it's 1 month away. And he's telling her, realistically, everything that needs to be done up in here is not going to be done in 1 month. And Kelly, she's not having it. She's like, we're going to make it. Excuse me. She's like, we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done. Don't worry. We'll take care of it. We're getting it done. And he's just like, okay. So, for the sake of deadlines and for her being on TV, I hope that 1 month later she was all done, or at least 80 to 90% there. Let me see. So that she can start, making money on her investment. Because the longer she waits, the more money she loses. So, Oh, Kelly does mention that she had a previous restaurant while married. I guess she's still married at this point. But she said she had a previous restaurant, and her ex, who is still technically her husband, he actually closed the restaurant down or something like that. She said, I think she said she closed it, sold it. He did something to it, but she lost the restaurant. And I really I do not like Kelly's ex. And I know, every story has two sides, but something tells me like, this is the only side I need to hear. Like, I'm not even interested in hearing his side. Like, there is no justification for a lot of this stuff that he did that I'm hearing. And I'm trying to think and be, optimistic and be like, well, maybe he did that because it's no excuse for none of this stuff that she's talking about that he did. He was a jerk and an asshole. But next we jump to Brittany, and she's doing a scene in her home with her husband. And she mentioned that she and her husband got together during COVID time, and he was actually one of her clients. But she didn't want to date her client, so I guess they took it slow. Let me see. She says, so yeah, they just took it slow and they became friends, which led up to where they are today. She's also talking to her husband about planning for a baby that they want to have within 1 year, and how she wants her mom to move into their new home with them. She says right now, when the mom is over there, the mom's room is right beside their bedroom, and in the new home, they don't want her anywhere close to the primary bedroom that they're going to be sleeping in. And I get it, because who wants their mom next door? Like, what if you're doing it? Oh, and I do want to change something that I said in last week's episode. I believe I said that she's an insurance agent, but she clarified in this episode that she wasn't an agent. She actually owned the insurance agency. So respect on her name. And that is how she and her husband met, because he was her client. So there we go. But she's planning their future, and as far as waiting to have a baby until after they've moved into their new home, and the husband is asking her why is she planning all of this instead of just letting it basically happen organically with the planning of the baby. And I loved her response. She said that she's planning it because we're adults. There's a lot of babies out here, including me, who were oopsies. Oops, didn't pull out. She's she's not wanting no oopsies. She want a planned out baby, and I don't blame her. And that's how it should be. But for those of us who are oopsies, we are all still loved as well. And I feel like when you plan a baby, you have things in place and contingencies in place when a baby has been planned. But when you have a oopsie, you have to get shit together really quick, and you may not have thought about the what ifs. So I think it's very smart of her and any other woman and family who plans out their baby. Next, we get to meet Brittany's mom. Let's see. Brittany also tells us that her husband has a 15-year-old son. That's not her son, it's her husband's son. And they are going to do the IVF route when they do decide to conceive their child, so that they're able to select the sex of the baby that they want. So I have to bring up how nonchalant the husband is. He's just so nonchalant and blah. And she even made a statement to him about being nonchalant. She was like, you can't be nonchalant when I'm pregnant. And she's absolutely right. Like, you can't be sitting there just being quiet and nonchalant. Put some energy into yourself. Be happy. Be alive. But yeah, it just does seem like he couldn't care any less. But anyway, we jump to the next scene where Shamia is visiting her surrogate, Shadina, who carried her second baby. I think she says Shiloh's the name. And she explained, no, Shiloh's the oldest. I can't remember what the second baby's name is. It may be Shiloh, or Shiloh might be the oldest baby's name. But Shadina, she carried Shamia's baby for her. She was the surrogate, and she also was introduced to Shamia by Candy, because Shadina carried Ace. I mean, not Ace. She carried Blaze for Candy, which is Candy's youngest daughter. And so anyway, while Shamia is checking on Shadina, we learned that Shadina was diagnosed with breast cancer at 32 weeks pregnant while carrying Shamia's baby. And she says that when they found that out, like at 32 weeks, her baby needed to have been born like immediately, like yesterday. Shadina, she talks about how there was moments where she felt like her having cancer. She doesn't believe that her cancer was brought on by, is the word surrogating or incubating Shamia's baby. She doesn't believe that carrying Shamia's baby, there we go, carrying Shamia's baby is what led to her cancer, and that brings Shamia some relief, because Shamia said that she's had thoughts of thinking that, you know, Shadina's carrying my baby, and by her doing that via surrogacy, that's how she caught her breast cancer. And Shamia, you know, is just wanting to check on Shadina. But she's relieved to know that Shadina doesn't feel that's what brought on the cancer. Shadina also, you know, felt like it was a potential that the cancer that was in her body might have affected Shamia's baby, because as we know, the baby, you know, has some conditions that she's currently dealing with, and Shadina felt like, you know, is it a possibility that my cancer somehow caused this? Shamia tells Shadina not to, think about it in that way. And Shamia also says that she knows what it's like to be doing IVF. She says that she had to give herself 4 shots in the morning and 4 shots at night. And it was horrible. And she says that she did eventually get pregnant while doing IVS, but it was an ectopic pregnancy, which of course means she lost the baby. Let's see. So the next scene, we jump to a scene where Brittany is visiting Kelly at Kelly's home, and Brittany brings her dog to play with Kelly's dog. And I must say that Kelly's dog looks like the most gayest dog I've ever seen. He looks like a dog version of JoJo Siwa, like for real, with just like all the rainbow and just glittery jacket. And she even has the dog, he or she dyed like pink ears, and gayest dog I've ever seen. Anyway, Kelly is asking about Brittany's wedding plans, and Brittany says that she wants to do something that's not really big. She just wants it to be more so like an intimate type of feel. Then they talk about Shamia's party and how Portia was locked and loaded pretty much for Drew. But they were confused because they were supposed to be talking about how Portia stole Simon from Fallon. But it was like, Portia was like, okay, we're not going to even talk about what y'all want to hear from me. Portia pretty much changed the topic so that she can have an issue with Drew. And so they were confused about that, which, yeah, we all were a little confused about that. Let's see. Brittany also brings up how she felt like Kenya was being shady by mentioning her wedding band, and they both agree that Kenya doesn't need to be worrying about Brittany's ring, and instead Kenya needs to be worrying about her divorce. Next, they get into Kelly's life a little bit and what's going on with the divorce. Kelly says that her husband cheated on her and also stole $500,000 from her business while she was on vacation, and she had to file a lawsuit, I guess, to get her money back. She also mentioned that there was violence in the relationship and that at times she had to sleep in her closet. And she says that the police were called to their home many times. So just hearing that, like I just said earlier, I don't like the husband. Haven't met him, don't want to meet him. I don't need to hear his side of the story. You can just tell she's not lying. But he was definitely a jackass, and I'm glad she's not with him no more. Lastly, Brittany lets Kelly know that she's always going to be there for Kelly anytime that she needs her. And that's it. So next we jump to a scene where Drew is at the gym with her personal trainer, and that immediately reminded me of Drop It with Drew, which I guess probably doesn't go on anymore. Her little workout camp. Let me see. But Drew, she invites Angela and Shamia, and Angela arrives to the gym first, and they start doing some stretches. And while stretching, Angela does ask Drew why she chose to work with Dennis on music. Out of everybody in Atlanta, she could have chose from. Why Dennis? And Drew says that she pretty much tells the same thing, that I told you guys earlier, how she's been with some of the top producers and people in music, and her career didn't really go anywhere. And so when Dennis, he came to her with this business proposal, he sounded genuine, and she was bought. So she was like, hey, let's do it. She did say again that she did receive permission from Portia, but she also says that had Portia not been okay with it, she would have had to reevaluate whether or not she would have worked with Dennis or not. And from from what I gathered from that was, okay, what if Portia would not have been okay with it? Would you still have worked with him anyway? I feel like you would have, just for a storyline on this show. I feel like you still would have regardless. But yeah, I guess we'll never know. Drew does at that point get a little emotional, saying that her personal life has really been a lot with everything, that's going on with her divorce from Ralph. And she says that at the end of the day, she's really not intentionally trying to hurt anybody. She's just trying to make this music thing pop for her and her kids so they can stay afloat. So, I get it. Next, Shamia walks in and they get right to the workout. And while working out, I noticed that Drew doesn't seem to be taking the workout as seriously as Shamia and Angela. There was a lot of times where the producers showed scenes of Shamia and Angela right there with the fitness guy trainer working out, and Drew, she off somewhere else in the corner. And that's what's so funny, because I was like, Drew, girl, ain't nobody taking this fitness life seriously. We know you don't go to the gym. And look, I'm one of them. I could use a gym myself. Let me see. But after the workout, Shamia asks Drew about her music and whether or not she's going to be creating an EP. From there, Drew goes into how she received approval to work with Dennis from both Portia and from her baby daddy / husband, Ralph. They both, Portia and Ralph, granted her permission to work with Dennis. So I guess in Drew's mind, she's not understanding where all this hate and just evilness is coming from on Portia's side. And so then next they bring up how Shamia brought up at her birthday party how she heard that Drew was dating Dennis. And Angela was actually very vocal about that, feeling like Shamia is Portia's lapdog. Let's just say on a scale of 10, because you know how some people, be on a 10 and they be like, bring it down. Angela was like at a 7.5 with Shamia, and I don't know where all this energy came from, but she had a lot of energy for Shamia. Let me see. And I guess she was just really wanting to hold Shamia accountable for speaking on Portia's behalf and doing Portia's dirty work. Shamia did say she didn't ask on Portia's behalf. She asked on her own behalf because she wanted to know. It was pretty cringe that every time Shamia tried to talk, Angela kept talking at the same time and over talking her, trying to overtalk her. It was cringe as hell. And I mean, she just kept continuously doing it. And every time that Shamia tried to explain, Angela just kept cutting her off. And then she had the nerve to tell Shamia that Shamia is cutting her off. And I'm like, baby, are we watching the same show? Are you aware of what you are currently doing? Because Shamia's not cutting you off, Angela. You're cutting Shamia off. And you're asking her questions, and then when she answers it, you're cutting her off. Something's wrong with that girl, Angela. It must be that stuff that's going on at home. But I definitely laughed when she was like, Angela kept telling Shamia that Shamia was cutting her off. Because today was obviously opposite day. Like, she said, April Fools. She threw out a Uno reverse. Oh, she called Shamia Portia's assistant. But Shamia, she was catching on to the energy that Angela was throwing her way. Um, and then they cut to a green screen of Angela, still talking crap about Shamia, and she says, you're not going to bulldoze you're not going to just bulldoze me. I'm 6 feet and I have a presence. And when she said that, I immediately went back to my question marks that I had put on her about her husband. And that reminds me of what I've been saying. So let's go back to it again. You're not going to just bulldoze me. I'm 6 feet and I have a presence. Y'all have to read into what's been said and some of the things that I've been observing. That sounds like misplaced anger. I think that's what she should be saying to her husband, not to anybody else. Because her husband does bulldoze her, and he probably does make her feel that she doesn't have a presence. And she can be 6 feet all she wants, but what's a 6 foot person to a 7 foot person? He's still taller than her. So I feel like there was just misplaced anger and trauma that she's trying to throw on to Shamia. Let me see. But I have this theory about Angela and her NBA legend, but we'll see how the rest of the series plays out. But I just don't see them staying together after her joining this show. But let's also jump to the confessional that Drew did right after their workout. And Drew says in her confessional that she agrees with Angela in saying that Shamia is Portia's lapdog. And she says if you, let me see. She says if you look up the definition of a lapdog, you'll see Shamia's picture. And Drew is so shady. She is so shady because first of all, Shamia is not a lapdog. It may have come off that way on earlier seasons of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, but Shamia has just as much money as Portia, if not more. There's somebody. Shamia is a somebody, so to be a lapdog to Portia, I mean, they both have motion, so I mean, I don't get that. But hey, anyway, we know Drew is very shady. So next we jump to a scene where Portia is at some type of indoor playground for children, and she's there with her daughter, PJ. And they're playing on the indoor playground. And Dennis walks in and starts to play a little bit as well. Portia then does a green screen pops up with Portia where she says that her divorce, that with her divorce going on, her daughter PJ needs to see the both of them, meaning Portia and PJ's dad Dennis, in a good place. Oh, and PJ needs to see both of her parents being the best parents that they can be. She then brings up to Dennis, Drew. Dennis immediately tells her that they are only doing business together. And Portia pretty much lies right here and says, well, Drew is saying something completely different, which I'm like, Portia, why is you lying? That is exactly what Drew said. Drew said that they are just working together. So Portia starts talking about well, Drew was saying like, you're her Jesus Christ who then flew down here on the cloud and you're her everything. And so Portia misconstrued pretty much what Drew was saying. She didn't say that Dennis was Jesus or God. She said he has been like an angel to her with helping her. So Portia is messy. That's why I don't care for Drew or Portia. Like, you can take both of them away, honestly. They both liars. Dennis then tells Portia that he told Drew to talk to Portia about it, which, by the way, Drew did do, or at least she attempted to. Let me see. Dennis also said that he didn't know that he had to tell Portia, about moves that he's out here making because they're not together. And he is exactly right. He don't have to tell Portia shit. Now, on the other hand, Drew does because she's friends with Portia. But Dennis is right. He doesn't have to tell her anything. At the end of the day, honestly, I think Portia's just a little jealous, like I stated earlier. And she just doesn't want to admit it. But Portia does get upset because I'm guessing she feels like she has no loyalty from Dennis. So she gets up and she walks away and she starts crying, fake tears. Just talking about how nobody shows her any type of loyalty. And when she said that, I was like, although I get what you're trying to say, that's not true. Because you do have people in your life that are loyal to you, aka your best friend Shamia. She takes all this heat for you and gets called a lapdog, and Portia's assistant and stuff. That's somebody who's 100% loyal to you, even when she should not be. She's loyal to a fault, and she should not be. But hey, Shamia got your back. Your mom, your sister, and some other people. Just because Dennis isn't loyal to you doesn't mean anything. And we really don't care about loyalty when it comes to you because you don't show loyalty to people either. You can tell in Portia's life, it's really like, this is my world and y'all just live in it, and I'll do any and everything to get what I want to get. Or who I want to get. So as far as the whole loyalty comment, I could care less when it's Portia involved. But Portia does do a confessional where she's explaining that she feels why she feels that way, and she says that the show should just pretty much be off limits for the two of them, Drew and Dennis, to be filming together, especially since Dennis was brought onto the show by Portia, and he doesn't need to be filming with any other woman except for her on her show, which is her platform. And I definitely get that, because if I brought you onto my show and we didn't work for whatever reason, you're not about to stay on my show. When I divorce you or I break up with you, my show that I'm on also breaks up with you or divorces you as well. And so I feel her on that. It's just a very messy situation, and she just doesn't want Dennis being on this show to affect their co-parenting. But I think she should just be open to the idea, because even if Drew and Dennis started to date, I don't see that as a bad thing. I think, if they get along and treat each other nicely, that would be a good thing. I really do. But I get, you being jealous, but I don't think you have a right to be jealous after Portia, after what you did. So it's just a lot. But like I said, it's a very messy situation. And I feel like Portia hasn't fully gotten over Dennis. She wants to be able to have her cake and eat it too. And that's just not how life works. That was pretty much this episode. This episode was much better. And I think I'm going to continue to keep watching. I didn't know based off of the first episode if I would enjoy this season or if I would want to keep watching, but I think I'm gonna keep on watching and keep giving you guys recaps each week. But if you enjoyed my recap, again, it is your boy Raheem the Dream. Make sure that you comment. Let me know how you feel about certain situations in the comment section. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, share this video to your social media with all of your friends and family. And subscribe to my channel, most importantly. But until the next video, again, it's your boy Raheem the Dream, and thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Hood Dreams TV. You guys stay safe and blessed, and I'll talk to you next time.
Anymore. So take it.